What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance The Other Way, Season 5, Episode 2, Long Distance Medium. Let's get started with Brandon and Mary. Y'all, there is just something about Mary that scares the hell out of me because just when you thought it could not get any worse with how they have to constantly be on FaceTime with one another, it got worse. The scene that happened when he got on the plane, wow. Mary, look, Brandon, I don't understand what you see in this girl. I don't understand how you can miss the humongous, larger than life red flags that are billowing in the wind. I don't understand how you're not noticing that Mary is extremely unstable. The last thing that Mary needs is a serious relationship. Mary needs to deal with her own issues of abandonment, of insecurities, this desire, this need to be loved at any cost. She does not need to be in a relationship with a young man who is giving up his whole entire life to fly across the world to start a new life with her. That is the last thing that Mary needs, because Mary is the kind of person that if you were to break up with her, or if she really did find out that he was cheating on her, I'm definitely afraid of what Mary will end up doing. So let's get started. So he's going fishing with his godparents and his god brother. So on their way to the fishing hole, the lake, the creek, wherever they're going, Brandon asks his godparents if the reception is going to be good because he has to have Mary constantly on video camera, even though Mary was fast asleep. So his godmother tells him, yeah, the reception is good. The fishing won't be so good because of the area that we chose to make sure that you would have your Wi-Fi. So yes, you're going to be able to have your Wi-Fi. So, the last time that he went fishing, Mary thought that he was cheating. Okay, when did Mary think that he was not cheating? When did she ever think that he wasn't cheating? He can go to the bathroom and she's going to think that he's cheating. That there's nowhere this boy can go, nothing he can do where Mary does not think that he's cheating. So now, I guess he has to bring his phone with him to video call her while he's fishing. So the grandparents, they talk about how they can't have a private conversation with Brandon because Mary is always on the phone. And if this whole situation is real, which sometimes I find it really hard to believe that he's really living his life like this. But if this whole situation is real, like, Brandon, you're 23 years old. You don't seem like, you're that dumb. Why can't you see that this is extremely unhealthy and that you're headed down the wrong direction? You can't even have a conversation with your godparents, with family members, with your mother, your siblings, without Mary being there. And I cannot wait for Brandon to find out that she unhooks her Wi-Fi to go hang out with her male friends. I cannot wait until he finds that out. So Brandon says that he was giving all of his money to Mary because she's supposed to be building a house over there for them, and I guess also for her family, because the house has been built. He has sent over in excess of $50,000 to get this house built in the Philippines. And when they showed us the house, it was definitely completed, I think, but it was just not that very furnished. We had seen this house before in episode 1, but her whole family lives there as well. She lives there with her grandparents, her siblings, and now Brandon's going to be coming over. And I'm just like, man, is this the life that you want, Brandon? To live with her whole entire... Anyways, so... he says that this has completely cleaned out his bank account. And then they talk about how it was really hard for him to hold down a job because he had to have her on video camera the whole entire time. Even at his job, he had to have her on video camera. And this had caused him to lose a lot of jobs. And I'm just thinking, Brandon, you can't connect the dots. This is what I'm talking about. TLC is out there trying to find the most vulnerable, unhinged people to exploit. This is look, what is wrong with finding a normal couple who are trying to make a life together in another country, who are just going to go through your normal everyday ups and downs of a regular couple, and the American has to get used to acclimating to a different environment, a different culture, a different language? What is wrong with that? Like, I am yearning for that. I am craving that. I am sick and tired of these people who need help, who need mental health assistance, who need to see a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a psychotherapist. They need help. I'm tired of seeing these because we get so lost into their psychosis, and their psychosis becomes the main storyline, that we're not even paying attention to just the simplicity of people falling in love in different countries and trying to make it work in one country. Like, that has been completely lost on 90 Day Fiance. It's all about these psychoses, these insecurities, this misogyny, this it's just, for people out there who are studying psychology, who want to become mental health professionals, this is the show for you. This right here is the show for you, because I'm telling you, you're going to be filling up volumes and volumes and volumes of notebooks, taking notes on these people. So he lost a whole bunch of jobs because, he has to be on video call, and his godparents are very supportive. They're very supportive of Brandon and Mary, but not to the point where they don't see the red flags. They definitely see the red flags. They're not 1,000% happy about this relationship, but they try to sort of like gently tell him that, hey, you think this is what you really want to do? Do you feel like this is normal? What are you going to do with her, when her insecurities are out of control? So they kind of gently try to nudge him in the right direction, but he's like refusing to go. He's refusing to go down the right path. He wants to go down the wrong path. He wants to go deep into this dark alley, this abyss of this crazy relationship with Mary. So I like his godparents because, he's not their child, so they cannot give him that hard discipline. Plus, he's a grown man. So they really can't talk crazy to him like the way his mother can. But you can see that they're trying to kind of like open up his eyes a little bit to the situation that he's in, but he's just not picking up what they're putting down. So it's departure day. So his godparents drive him to the airport. Brandon is extremely nervous, and I think his godparents asked him, one of them asked him, are you having second thoughts? Is that why you're so nervous? I guess we're hoping that he was going to say yes. And he was like, no, I'm just really nervous because I'm starting like a new chapter in my life. So his godmother walks him into the airport after he says goodbye to his godfather, and he was wondering if his mother was going to be there to say her goodbyes to him. Well, yes, the mother did show up. And the mother, of course, was crying. She doesn't want him to do this. She doesn't think this is a healthy relationship. She wants her boy to stay here, stateside. She's definitely afraid of what's going to happen to him once he gets to the Philippines. But he's a grown man. What can you do? So the mom tells him, don't allow yourself to be manipulated and controlled. Mom, I think we're about 1,000 miles past that. We're 1,000 miles past that. Okay, he's taking the camera with him to the bathroom. He's taking the camera with him to work. He's taking the camera with him to go fishing. We're 1,000 past that, 1,000 miles past that. But the mom is proud of her son for being his own man. And despite what everybody's been telling him, Brandon is still going to do what Brandon wants to do. So she is proud of the fact that he has a backbone when it comes to everybody else, but he ain't got no backbone to marry. Mom, the mother wants, she says that she does admit her addiction. She was talking in her little confessional, and she tells us that, yes, my addiction caused me to drive me and my son apart. My addiction was like a huge problem in our relationship, and it caused Brandon to not trust her, to lose all trust and respect for his mother. But when she got clean and sober, she thought, okay, now me and Brandon can start all over with our relationship. But by this time it was too late, because Mary had done shown up, and Mary has caused this huge, she has put this huge wedge in between her and her son. So their relationship can never really fully get started, because Mary was always in between them. And of course, the mom can't stand Mary. She wants Brandon to break up with Mary, but Brandon is not trying to hear any of that. So sometimes I'm like, a parent, even though it's really hard, as long as your child is not, I guess, physically harming themselves, because he is emotionally harming himself. But I guess, if your child is not hurting himself or anybody else, I mean, you just have to be supportive in the decisions that they make when it comes to choosing who they want to be with, because a heart wants what the heart wants. So instead of talking bad about their partner, that's not going to help. It's not going to change anything. It's just like having an addiction. You have to hit rock bottom before you realize this is not for you. This is not the life for you. And he's going to have to hit rock bottom with Mary before he realizes that this is not the way he should be going. So as his mother, I just hope that she stops talking so negatively about Mary. And I know that is extremely hard to do because Mary is a very scary person, but she's going to have to stop talking bad about Mary, allow her son to be with them, and let him do his thing with her. So Brandon was happy to see his mom there at the airport to send him off. He felt very supported by her, and the mother told him, if you need anything, do not hesitate to call me. I will do whatever I can to help you. So he does have the support of his mom, and he does have the support of his godparents, which is really good. There's always a plan B. If it don't work out with Mary, honey, there's a plan B. Come on back home. So he says he's going to the Philippines with no money in his bank account because he's given it all to Mary to build this damn house. So he's on the plane. When he finally gets Wi-Fi on the plane, the first thing he does, he texts her, and he tells her that he's on the plane and she wanted to see who was sitting next to him. So he tells her, there's a girl sitting next to me. So she goes absolutely berserk. Oh, you're cheating on me. You're cheating on me. I know you're cheating on me. I know you're talking to her. That's all you do. All you want to do is be around girls. And he's like, I have no control on who they sit next to me. When I bought my plane ticket, they didn't tell me, oh, there's going to be a young lady sitting next to you. What is going on? You know, what's wrong with you? But she does not let up. She's just constantly berating him, cussing him out, accusing him of cheating because there's a girl sitting next to him. I don't understand why. I don't think he was using his camera. So I don't think he was using his camera because he showed her. Yeah, he showed her the girl sitting next to him. So he had to move. And from my understanding, it's not that easy just to get up and change seats on a plane because everybody is assigned a certain seat. So if anything happens to the plane, they'll be able to identify who sat where and who was who. So he ends up somehow or another convincing the flight attendant to move him, and he's sitting next to nobody now. So this was the first of 3 flights. And so he tells Mary when he lands, I think his first stop was in LA. He tells her, I've landed in LA safely. And she responds back by saying, yeah, and I've been on the second flight. You're going to sit next to a girl too. And then she starts saying that she's done with him. It's over. She doesn't want him to come to the Philippines. This girl became completely unhinged, y'all. Unhinged. And it was just bad. The language that she was using, oh, you're effing her. You're effing that girl next to you. I don't want you anymore. I'm done with you. It's over. And he says, you know, I'm giving up my whole entire life to be with her. And this is how she treats me? Yeah, I don't really deserve this. Brandon, honey, it does not get better because he has this idea that once he gets to the Philippines and they're actually around each other all the time, she's going to be more secure. She's not going to be more secure. You are not going to be more secure. It will only get worse. It will only get worse because she's going to be witnessing things that are just not happening. She's going to see him looking at other girls, or she's going to think he's looking at other girls, or other girls are looking at him, or she's not going to like how the store clerk talks to him, or how the store clerk hands him the money, or how it's just going to get worse. It is not going to get better in a situation like this, but we shall see how all of this unfolds. Moving on from there, let's talk about, we have a new couple, Tajasi from India and Kimberly from Alabama. So Tajasi from India, he's a voiceover actor. He lives with his parents and his brother, and we all are very familiar. For those of us who have watched, 90 Day Fiance A to Z, we are very familiar with Indian culture, how it's a very, a familial type of lifestyle. You live with your family. Everybody lives in one home. The women have traditional roles, etc., etc. We know how it goes down in India. So he is, like I said, he's a voiceover coach, lives at home with his parents and his brother. He's a very spiritual person, and he met Kimberly on an online spiritual group, and he saw her, was attracted to her, reached out to her. At first, she really wasn't feeling him. She kind of rejected him, and then he just sort of manifested their relationship starting, and it happened. So it began with an exchange of text messages, etc., and it grew from there. So after about 6 months of dating, she ended up going to India for a year to be with him. And I think they got engaged like a couple of months after she arrived in India. They got officially engaged, and his parents did approve of the relationship. So that was a blessing in itself. That was a miracle in itself that his parents approved him being with a non-Indian woman. But you know what? And the reason why is because she was of age. Now, we're used to where the Indian guy wants a woman whose eggs have already, blown into turned into dust and blown into the wind. We're used to that, and the parents not liking that. But in this situation, he chose a woman of age, of childbearing age, so it was okay that she was American. So the only thing is that he has not told Kimberly that his parents is expecting her to be a traditional Indian wife. She's going to have to do the cooking and the cleaning and help out the mom with the household chores. That she doesn't know. She thinks that she's just going to transplant her American life to India and live the way that she was living in Alabama. Well, she's going to get a very rude awakening. So we see Kimberly, 30 years old, from Alabama. She's a clairvoyant, a claircognizant, and a clairaudio, among a whole bunch of other clairs. So she's one of those types of people. She reads tarot cards, she sees dead people, she talks to the spirits, etc. So she talks about how she met TJ. She calls him TJ, Tajasi. She calls him TJ. How she initially met him in a dream. And I think she had multiple dreams of him, because I think she told her spiritual leaders that she kept on having a dream about this man, but she could never see his face. And so when she started communicating with him, or when he reached out to her or whatever, her spiritual leaders were like, yes, this is the guy that's in your dreams. So that's how they met. That's how she met him, in her dreams. So like I said, 2 months after she arrived in India, when she took her trip there, he proposed to her, she accepted, and she stayed in India for an entire year on a student visa. So the wedding will be this big, lavish, traditional Indian wedding. It's going to last 3 days, and she is communicating with him on FaceTime, I think, and she's asking him about the colors for the wedding, and the colors are going to be pink, and she's, trying to make sure that it's the kind of pink that she's envisioned. She feels a little bit, out of control, because his family is planning the entire wedding. And so she feels like she has no input of her own into her own wedding. So that's kind of freaking her out. And she wants to be more involved in the wedding. And also, what's making her more stressed in the wedding is the apartment. So I think they said they were building an apartment above his parents' home, I think. And so she's stressed out about that, on how that apartment is going to be looking, if it's going to be to her liking. And she's not getting a lot of feedback from him as far as how everything is going. So she really doesn't know what to expect. All she can do is hope and pray that it's going to be to her satisfaction. They also talk about food. So she says something about when she gets there, she's not going to be able to eat the type of food that she wants. She says she's Italian and she loves garlic and onions, but it's not going to be permitted in the home, because he says that in his culture, they believe that garlic and onions have bad energy because they're so pungent. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way I could go live somewhere without garlic and onion. No way in hell. I hear I hear that Indian food is very, very delicious. I have yet to try it, but I can't live without garlic and onion. There's no, we'd have to break up. There's just no way. So she doesn't know how she's going to survive with her garlic and onions. TJ, so from there we move on. TJ is talking to his family about the wedding, and they're talking about how Kimberly had expected to wear a white dress to her wedding, and TJ's mom started laughing because she thought it was so ridiculous. But that's what we wear in America, in lots huge chunk of the world. Everybody wears white, right? But in India, the bride is going to be wearing red, because red is symbolic of fertility, wealth, prosperity, and happiness. In India, the color white represents death. Is what you wear to a funeral, or what a widow will wear, not a bride to be. So his family is planning the wedding, where traditionally it would be her family planning the wedding, the bride's family, but obviously that's not possible. So we move on to Alabama, and we see Kimberly with her mom and her stepdad. No, not there yet. No, we're not there yet. We're still in India. So the family's talking about how Kimberly is going to be adapting to the culture and to their family unit, and they don't think she's going to be able to adapt very well. they know that Kimberly really wants privacy because TJ mentions to his family that the most important thing to Kimberly is for her to have her own privacy. And the mother says, you built her own damn apartment. How much more privacy could she possibly need? So they don't think that Kimberly is going to do well in India. And she's going to have her own apartment for sure. But once again, they stress that when she gets there, she's going to be expected to help out the mother with the domestic chores. So, and it's really foul that TJ has not told Kimberly that that's what's going to be expected of her. That's really foul that he's going to just, tell her this after she arrives. Then we move on to Alabama finally. So we see Kimberly, she's with her dad, she's with her stepmom. We have a little bit of history of Kimberly's life. Her parents got divorced when she was really young. And so there was like this really heated custody battle between her parents that lasted 8 years. At the end of this custody battle, her dad ended up getting custody of her and her siblings. But she always felt like her and her mom were never really that close because she felt like her mom didn't like her because her mom reminded her of her dad. So that's her own, her own reasoning. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's her reasoning as far as why her and her mom never really got along. So her stepmother has become like her mother figure. And when we see her stepmom and her dad, they're talking about her trip to India, how she's going to be leaving soon. And, the dad was emotional. The stepmother was even more emotional. And the stepmom was just like with her eyes, you could tell that she was just begging Kimberly to not do this, to not leave. So she's really close to her parents, and she says that the closer she gets to the wedding, the more nervous she's becoming. She talks about how TJ really dismisses a lot of the things that bother her, a lot of the issues that she has. TJ just kind of dismisses it, doesn't really take it too seriously, and so she wonders if this is how it's going to be for their whole entire marriage. Yes. Yes, this is exactly how it's going to be. One thing's for sure and two things for certain. People really don't change. People might pretend to like doing things that they normally don't like to do. They might do things to appease you for a little bit. But honey, in the core of every person, people are who they are and people don't change. So if she's wondering if this is going to be her life, most likely, yeah, this is going to be her life. Being married to a man who dismisses things that are really important to her. I don't see that changing anytime soon, especially from the clips that we saw for next week's episode. Moving on to Holly and Wayne. So our resident Dracula is waiting for his lady love to arrive in South Africa. So she's on her way to South Africa with her mother. Her mother is coming with her, number one, to attend the wedding. Number two, to kind of get a gander at Wayne and give her opinion about Wayne. Because Holly said that she wants another person's opinion of Wayne, of someone who's actually seen him and been around him. So the mom is really worried about Holly's safety because Wayne's house has been broken into before. There's like a big problem of home invasions or home burglaries in that area. So the wedding is going to be taking place a week within her arrival. So they're like chop chop. They're going to get things done and they're going to get things done quickly. So I hope she knows exactly what she's doing. So she says that she's living out her fairy tale. I don't know about a fairy tale, but the story of Dracula is definitely a tale, and she's definitely living the life. I mean, this guy's teeth, I'm still not over it. Did he do this on purpose? Did he purposely chisel his teeth to look like this? Because I'm just like amazed on how his teeth look like. Is it the incisors? I don't know. They look like fangs. Anyways, so after a 30-hour flight, they arrive in South Africa. When she lands in South Africa, she is terribly sick. She makes a beeline to the bathroom. And when she finally gets to be reunited with Count Dracula, he gives her this great big hug and he's so happy to see her and he wants to give her a kiss, but he can't because she's been throwing up ever since she landed. So she tells him, I can't kiss you because I've been vomiting ever since I landed. So that was disgusting. And you have Holly, who is super pale and she's got the long dark hair, and then you have Wayne with his Dracula teeth, and this is like the 90-day version of the Addams Family. I'm like, this is bizarre. This is so bizarre. So they're in the airport. I'm not exactly sure why they're still sitting in the airport. I would have thought they would have gotten the bags and left, but they're still sitting in the airport. And she's sitting next to him in a chair, and she's doing something with her shoes. I think she's changing her shoes or something. And he's looking at her, and he's noticing that when she bends over, you can see her cleavage. When she's moving her legs around, you can tell that her dress is extremely short. And so he's telling her to be mindful of her dress. He doesn't like the dress. It's exposing too much of her body. He doesn't like how people are staring at her. So I wonder how they're going to navigate that. I know that in a lot of cultures, in a lot of African cultures, you have to be dressed a certain way to be considered a respectable woman. If you're not, you are going to get the looks and the stares. So I don't know how they're going to navigate that. So this is really interesting, this whole situation with Wayne and his teeth. Moving on to Armando and Kenny. So they are in Mexico City, which is a city that Kenny wants to move in. Armando does not, because he says it's a big city and I don't want to deal with big city problems such as overcrowding, crime, pollution, etc. So they're testing it out for 6 weeks to see whether or not they're going to make the move to Mexico City. So because Armando is unhappy to be there, he's like, well, if you want to live here so bad, you go do the grocery shopping. So they go into the city that day and they're going to do some shopping, and Armando sends Kenny to go get the groceries by himself because Kenny doesn't speak Spanish. And the reason why he has a hard time learning Spanish is because he has a learning disability, and probably because he's just old in age. The older you get, the harder it is to learn new things. But anyway, so Armando was like, okay, there's a store, go at it. So he goes into the store, and of course Armando and little Hannah, they, follow him from afar just to make sure that, everything is okay. But he has to do most of the shopping on his own. And of course he's struggling, which I didn't understand why he was struggling. You had a phone with you. Kenny had a cell phone with him. Google Translate, Kenny. Google Translate. Like, what is going on? He was asking for salt and pepper and he didn't know how to say it in Spanish. Google Translate, Kenny. But anywho, so he's struggling, with the whole shopping experience. And Armando and Kenny finally have a conversation, and Armando says, you want to live here so bad, but you're not willing to do what it takes to really be independent in this city. And Kenny's like, hold up, we just got here and give me time. I'm going to learn what I need to learn to navigate my way through Mexico City. So Hannah's pretty much sold on Mexico City. She loves it. So that's good for Kenny, because Armando says, I just want to keep my little girl happy. So if she likes it here, I'll think about it, because I want Hannah to be happy. Now, of course, Hannah doesn't want to be away from the rest of her family, her grandparents, her aunts, etc. But she does like Mexico City. And there was a moment when Hannah and Kenny were having a conversation about I think they were asking Hannah, so how are you going to feel about being away from your grandparents? And Hannah says that she's going to be sad about that. And she says, just like how Kenny is sad being away from his family. And it was a really touching moment. I got the feels, y'all. I got the feels. And so Kenny was like holding her hand. He was like, Hannah, I love you because you get me. This guy don't, but you get me, Hannah. So Armando tells Kenny that he doesn't want to feel like he owes it to Kenny to move to Mexico City, because Kenny left Florida to come live with him in Mexico. And Kenny was like, hold up, I've never given you the impression that you owed me anything. Why would you think that? So Armando just kind of glosses over that, and he talks about how it's going to be a big transition to go from a small town to a big city. And Kenny's like, that's not what we're talking about. That's not what I asked you. I asked you, did I ever give you the impression that you owe it to me to move to Mexico City? And I don't think I ever did. And if you got that impression from me, it was completely unintentional. And that's not the kind of relationship that I want, where we're like tit for tat and, we're petty like that. That's not what I'm looking for in a relationship. Not at all, even though they've been married now for a few years. So Kenny was like really perturbed by that. He was like, no, I don't feel like you owe anything to me. I just want to live in Mexico City, damn it. Moving on from there, we have I called him Julio, the thing that I hated the most, Julio and Kirsten. So Kirsten has arrived. Whatever was going on with her passport, it was figured out. And now they're on their way to the hotel. Now, when they were on their way to the hotel, because they're driving into New York City, or they are in New York City, but they're driving to the hotel, and she sees the school bus, a big yellow, typical American school bus. And she wants to take a picture of it because she says, you only see this in movies, where I'm from. I thought that was really adorable. So they go to to a bar for drinks, and I noticed the most interesting thing about this scene was when she was drinking her cocktail, she would stick her tongue out before she actually took a sip, and that was so cringy to me. I mean, she looked like a damn lizard. So she did this 2 times. She would bring the glass to her lips, to her mouth, instead of just placing her lips on the rim of the glass to drink, she would poke her tongue out, and then it was just very, very cringy. So they talk about life in the Netherlands, and they're talking about how is Julio going to be accustomed to living in the Netherlands, where he doesn't know the language. Not only does he not know it, but the language is very hard to learn. And Julio is like, I'll figure it out. Don't worry about me, because this is what I really want to do. I want to live in the Netherlands. I want to leave New York. And so he's looking forward to it. Whatever comes, come what may, he don't care. He is ready to move to the Netherlands. And that's that. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate this video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.